These men leading countries, these men's doing genocide, these men's committing rape, these men who exist in communities to talk about revoking women's right to vote, these men were all children at one point. And society failed them. Often, patriarchy failed them while offering them the world. So yes, men are victims of patriarchy, but that does not mean that men also don't do themselves any favors by not focusing on dismantling it, right? And then they marry women that they expect to uphold that patriarchy with them and then blame the women for all of the patriarchy. You got to stop blaming women for patriarchy. You have to acknowledge that they're responsible, but they will never have as much power to be as responsible as the men. Yes, white women in particular hold power with white men. And if you separate white men from white women, the experience can be different. That doesn't mean that these white women are innocent. They're not. Ashley Staying Clear, I made that, 2-hour long video talking about stop pretending like she didn't contribute to so much harm. And with that said, she is a victim of patriarchy that upholds systems. She's not the driver of that system. She benefits, but she's not the driver of that system. She will never be able to sleep her way to the top. Ever. Women will never have true power in patriarchy. So they're always going to be ultimately victims. Okay? If men as a whole truly despise patriarchy and see that it's not working, they truly despise capitalism and see it's not working, then we would be in a very different position. But because men are all embarrassed millionaires and because men are all embarrassed kings and they all think that one day they'll be at top, they are more than willing to throw women under the bus for power. So just a reminder, as we talk about Graham Platner, that he is seeking power. And we are so willing to give it to him, even though it is obvious he's not supposed to have it. How willing we are to give our power to these men, just like with Trump. Oh, it's his personal life. It doesn't matter. Oh, he didn't really do those things. That's the news. Fake news is trying to slander him. All these things. These men are asking for power, and we are just handing it over and going like, hey, why does the world keep being the same thing that it is over and over? Because we keep giving the worst men power. And I'm saying, why can't we as a population be wiser about who we give power to? And that's why I say the world's a reflection of us as a whole. You are responsible for how the world is. Okay, first, we start with femmes and women, non-binary people, talking about Graham Platner, then an interview with Graham Platner himself, facing scrutiny after multiple women have come out with abuse allegations, or toxic relationships abuse allegations, okay?
Brand new reporting. There is brand new reporting. It has broken since I've been on the air. It's in the New York Times, and it is about Maine's Democratic Senate candidate Graham Platner. He's currently the frontrunner to become the Democratic challenger to Republican Senator Susan Collins in that pivotal midterm race in Maine. After news reports surfaced that he had sent explicit messages to women while he was married, several women came forward to the New York Times about their experiences with Platner. From that new New York Times reporting, quote, in interviews with the New York Times on Wednesday, several women described Mr. Platner as a fun and caring partner and said they felt safe with him. Some remain friends with him to this day, years after their relationships ended. But in extensive conversations over the past 2 months, 3 other women who had been romantically involved with Mr. Platner offered a far more complicated assessment, describing volatile and toxic relationships that were unsettling and at times emotionally wrenching. Mr. Platner could be charming and charismatic, they recalled in interviews, but also demeaning to women and, in at least one case, even physically threatening. He drank heavily and was regularly unfaithful. End quote. It's important to tell you, our viewers, that one of the 3 is a conservative activist who has worked on Republican campaigns, but she says that she would have spoken out even if Graham Platner was a Republican candidate. She disputes Platner's claim that he did not know that the tattoo on his chest was a Nazi symbol. From that part of this new reporting, quote, Mr. Platner, she said, knew when they were dating years ago that the tattoo was a Nazi symbol and that he called it my Totenkopf. The Platner campaign, quote, strongly disputes that claim that he knew about the tattoo and that he told her about it.
Okay, there's layers to this, and I'm open to hearing people. I understand politics is nasty, and I understand that people lie. But given his track record of being a mercenary for 20 years and then Blackwater, I feel like it makes sense that he would also know about this tattoo, and it's interesting that he dated a conservative woman. Okay? So I would not be surprised. Okay? With that said, we do have to be cynical and reasonable about who's giving us this information. Okay? Before I continue, Just said, Brittany, in dismantling, deconstructing patriarchy, would you say white women are more of a driver of the system in comparison to black men? Wonder if them being white trumps POC men, at least in the USA. I would say, if I had to put it into a picture, okay, I would say, first of all, if there is like a sort of hierarchy, okay, obviously all black and brown people are at the bottom because of racism, okay? And then I would say white women are in the middle because of racism. And I would say white men are at the top. So I would say white men, women, POC, okay? And then I would say this is under white supremacy alone. But if we look at patriarchy, okay, then we have to contend with the reality that if the conditions are good, like through capitalism and business, then women, regardless of their skin color, will always be objects, while men of color will rise to the top, but never be as high as white men. So it depends on the intersection. So obviously under white supremacy, white women have it over black men. And again, the issue is which is stronger in America. If a majority of people are white, well, that's going to change. But, then the system plays differently. So it depends on which system we're looking at and how we're reviewing it, And I think that's the issue even with gay men and gay black and brown men or gay white men. Like, if you're in a group of white supremacist men and you're gay, you might all beat up on a black guy. But if you're in a group of football players and they're black and white and there's a gay guy and you guys are homophobic, all of you are going to beat up on the gay guy. And it just depends. So these are personal and then these are systems. The system uses our personal to move itself forward. But what is the system at play? The question is like, who is mobilizing? So it just depends. It really depends on the circumstance from the personal perspective. Now, listen, I got a comment that said the issue with how Brittany talks is she goes from systems to people, systems to people. Oh, I'm sorry that I think they're related. Kind of like sex and having a baby have something to do with each other. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, yeah. The way I think, the way my brain works is that both of these things have to work together. That systems impact people, people impact systems. And so, yes, we go from systems to people to systems. Okay? So, yes, we have to have these conversations. Okay? Jess said a lot of women were pissed that black men could vote since they didn't want to be overruled by black people. Sure, during the suffragettes and during the original, the creation of the 19th Amendment and all of these things happening in the original kind of like what we think of as the original feminist movements, a lot of them were very upset that black men might have gotten the vote before them. And so they started to rally. That is true. And those women were also raped and impregnated and forced into marriages. They were also victims of patriarchy. And this is why I say all of us have to realize they're not going to pick us. They're not going to pick us. They're not going to pick us. Okay? Whether you're an immigrant, white supremacy isn't going to pick you no matter how close to whiteness you are. Okay? If you're a black man, they're not going to pick you, even if you're a millionaire. Okay? If you're a woman, they're not going to pick you because you will always be secondary. Okay? And so that's the point. Now, who is the they? Now, the they is very interesting because the they is the people who hold power but play victim. This is the irony of weaponizing victim politics against minority and marginalized people. Because the truth is, you see these white men who are victims of their own psychology, their own patriarchal beliefs. And yes, they are not making it in capitalism or patriarchy, but they still play for it. They play for the team, even though they lose every time because they're thinking one day I'll be the 1%. So all these men in my comments who were like, Brittany, you're mad at the 1%, but you're saying all men because you still back the 1%. You keep telling me, you swear to God you're not going to back these men, but all of the comedians, all of the actors, all of the people, all of the jokes come at the expense of marginalized people, even when they're marginalized. So you keep telling me you swear you're not the 1% and it's not all men, then why is it a man every time? And why are you always involved? And why is there a man somewhere who's turning his, oh, I can't see, I can't hear. It's not my fault. It was my friend. I didn't do it. I get it. We all are connected to problematic people. Our parents, our loved ones. Like if we really talked about the dirt in our families, all of us would be guilty. Okay, what did that Palestinian man say? He without sin, throw the first stone. Go ahead, girl, I'm waiting. So I'm not sitting here saying we're not all at fault. I'm saying though, that you have to deconstruct personally patriarchy, and then we have to mobilize to deconstruct it out of our system. We have to dismantle it out of the system. Okay? It's layered. It's very, very complicated and layered. I mean, we're living in a world where people don't even know why they like the TV shows they do, let alone the people they're attracted to. People think race is an attraction of preference. Guys, you can't have preference for people. They're not, items on a pizza. wait until I tell people like race preferences are racist. They freak out. You can't have a preference for race and not be racist. That is conditioning of white supremacy. That is a conditioning of some version of your brain saying, oh, I prefer white people. I prefer black people. I prefer this. I prefer my babies to come out. What did they used to say in the 90s? Mocha. Oh, my baby's skin is going to be so pretty. Okay. All of that stuff needs to be deconstructed. All of that stuff, we need to stop it. You know what I mean? But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. And so that's the point. Like, I understand that we are fighting ourselves and we're fighting the system. But this is why I like philosophy, because it's us. We are the problem. All right. Now on to one of my favorite days and thems.
You can like Graham Platner. That's totally fine. You can like.
This came out 13 hours
So
ago.
here's the thing. You can like Graham Platner. That's totally fine. You can like him. I think what you can do though is just hand wave away any and all criticism that people have of him and just say that if we disagree with him or don't like him, we don't actually care about progress. Because when you do that, you don't actually give him a chance to actually take accountability for his own actions, and you try to protect him from the very natural consequences of his own actions. And yes, he has tried to atone for the things that he has done in the past, and that's totally fine. People are not the worst thing they've ever done, but that takes time. And in the sort of grand scheme of politics, we don't know Graham Platner. He has never held elected office before. He's not been in the public spotlight that long, so we are all still getting to know him. So it's natural that many people are just not yet willing to forgive him and may never forgive him. And again, that's just a natural consequence of his behavior. And that's what true atonement looks like. It doesn't look like expecting every single person every single time to forgive you. You have to be willing to accept that it's like, yeah, you know what? I made mistakes and people just might not fuck with me anymore. And that's on me. And with this latest story about him sexting women outside of his marriage, like, yes, I understand that like him and his wife didn't work on that. And like, girl, I don't ever want to love somebody enough where I'm willing to make a video about them cheating on girl. You better than me, girl. But more than anything, like, don't we all recognize that the U.S.
And that's because we humiliate women in public. This woman has to go on a humiliation. My husband and I, we fixed our marriage. My husband and I, 6 different women.
Congress kind of has like a pretty notorious problem with people, elected officials, using those positions to have inappropriate sexual relationships and sexual contact, including sexting with staff members and other people around them. So this behavior that we are learning about, it has direct relevance to his campaign and the position that he might hold. And look, Graham Platner is the nominee in Maine. Like, it just is. And like, I don't know, I feel really conflicted about that race. I'm glad I don't gotta actually make a decision. I feel too conflicted about it. But like, I guess my point is like, you can't both have the position. I don't think it's fair to both have the position that like we have to hold politicians to a standard. We can't accept less, right? We got to have like, moral policy positions, which I'm with. So me and my twin and them, we're right there. You can't say that and then I think turn around and then act like the way that they move personally doesn't also impact, like, doesn't matter as well. Like we gotta hold. It's about holding people to a standard, and it can't be about lowering those standards if and only when the person's talking about Medicare for all. It's like, well, no, hold on. I don't. That feels like a double standard for me.
It is a double standard, because when you say, oh, it's just his personal life, it's his personal life. Is him being racist a personal life? Is him maybe being interested in a legal minor? Like, oh, she's 16, but it's legal. Is that his personal life? Like, you guys people act like, right? Like, personal life means like that's not going to have an impact on politics. And we wonder why the world is the way it is, because our mothers hide what our brothers and uncles do. Our aunties, fight you when you call out what grandpa did, right? Our friends and family date men who are abusive, and when we call it out, okay? We victim blame children. We're not ever allowed to call men out. It's never their responsibility. And it's always, well, what was she wearing? What was the child doing? Don't wear a swimsuit in front of your uncles and brothers. Don't show up that way in front of the men. Oh, what is this? What are we talking about here? Yes, personal is political, isn't it? Isn't that what we've been screaming for years? Well, if the personal is political, then him picking 6 different women to cheat with is personal, it's political, okay? Let's jump around to chat. Chat says, Brittany, the thing about race preference as a dude is I never want to argue with white women, Asian women, or whatever who don't like black guys. It's like, why try and convince someone to like me? You shouldn't try to convince someone to like you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you as a black person or you as anybody need to convince people to like you. You should love people for who they are. I'm saying that the person who's saying they don't date black guys needs to deconstruct. I'm saying the person who is being racist needs to do the work. I'm not saying the victim of the racism needs to do the work, right? I don't want you to date somebody who doesn't like you. I don't want you to date a racist. You know what I mean? I want you to date somebody who loves you as a person and as a consciousness. I'm saying the racist person needs to do the work, guys. Okay, next video.
So I'm rescinding a major. I was wrong. So I'm rescinding a major endorsement today. Let me tell you why. The New York Times just detailed disturbing allegations regarding Graham Platner and a pattern of abusive behavior against women. I want to be transparent. I gave Platner a glowing endorsement when he launched his campaign for Senate because I believed in his vision for an economy that actually serves working Americans. But the information that has since come to light is inexcusable. First, it was the Reddit posts excusing abuse. Now it's grotesque physical, emotional, and psychological abuse, along with demonstrably poor judgment. Again and again, information comes to light showing that despite what he says on the campaign trail, Graham Platner disrespects women. Now you're about to hear a whole lot of people try to minimize this, speculate about ulterior motives, or claim that this is just the behavior of a bad boyfriend. But we have the responsibility to do what is right, even when it is politically inconvenient. Women cannot be an acceptable sacrifice for the next election. Holding each other accountable is what sets us apart from those we claim to organize against. So does this put Democrats in a horrible position? Yes, but that is Graham Platner's fault, not the women he hurt and not the rest of us that are pushing for him to take accountability. Look, we were having the same conversation about Eric Swalwell 2 months ago. In the moment, the electoral stakes were high, and those of us pushing for accountability were facing rampant criticism. But we know which side was ultimately the right side of history. We have the opportunity to show up differently now, and I hope we do.
Okay, ready? MS interview just came out. Graham Platner is going to be interviewed about the women who have come out and talked about past relationships with him. Let's see how he holds up under scrutiny. I'm going to assume poorly.
Graham Platner, Democratic candidate for Senate in Maine, joins me now. Mr. Platner, it's good to have you on. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
I just want to say at the start that, we've had you on before, and I think you and I are both people that in other contexts talk about income inequality and healthcare and all those issues, which are extremely important, and we devote a lot of time to on this program. This is not, the thing that we spend a lot of time chasing. But there's some serious stuff there I want to go through with you, and I think voters have a right to know about it. And I want to start with what Ms. Fifield says about being rough is the term the Times. And I'm going to just read you the account so you have it. This is from the Times. Mr. Platner could be rough with her, Ms. Fifield said, particularly when they were drinking, leaving her shaken and sometimes afraid. In the interviews, she grappled with how to process her experiences. She was quick to note, he never hit me, he never punched me. She said he regularly grabbed her by the shoulders, sometimes hard enough to leave marks. On one occasion, yanked her out of a cab by her wrist after an argument in which she wanted to stay in the car. During one argument, she recalled he twisted her arm behind her back, shoved her into a bedroom, and held the door closed from the other side so she couldn't get out, telling her to remain there until she was calm. Eventually, Ms. Fifield said she fell asleep and left the next morning. It hurt, she said, but she added, it didn't cause any injury. It didn't break my arm. Did that happen?
No, it did not. There are some allegations in this piece that I just want to be kind of unequivocal about are simply not true. Anything alleging physicality, anything alleging that I knew what my tattoo was, these are the statements of someone who's politically motivated. In this piece, there's a lot about my struggling, not being a good boyfriend, certainly self-medicating with alcohol, and I've been very upfront since the beginning of this campaign that was a pretty dark period of my life after I came back from my combat service, and that's what that kind of life looks like. And so there are things in this that I absolutely will take responsibility for and have been speaking about openly for months now. But those serious allegations are just not true.
You did not grab her by the wrist. You did not put your hands on her shoulders. You did not push her into a room that you closed the door on. She's lying about that, is what you're saying.
Yes, that is not true.
You mentioned the tattoo. So I want to talk about that because I think this was troubling to a lot of people.
It's interesting that he literally killed people for a living, was deeply unethical for most of his career as a person, talked about his problems with alcohol, talked about how he was in dark periods, cheated on his wife multiple times, but he never put his hands on a woman even slightly, not any time in his life. And not only that, and listen, this woman is a conservative. So, and yet I will just say this, conservative or not, women don't typically lie. And she could have lied about something worse. The way she even said it was like, hey, it's bad. But if it was going to be a lie she would make up, you think she would have gone further. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm more likely to believe her just because it makes sense with his story, even the way he tells his own story, right? But it's interesting that this is like she's lying. It's political. Maybe. Or maybe once again, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, and I think, again, your account of it assuaged some of that fear, clearly in Maine voters.
Oh, yeah. Chad said, my question is, how the fuck did he get into the position to be the progressive politician in the first place? Like, are we dumb? This is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, why the fuck is Graham Platner here? Out of nowhere, he showed up with a horrible past in history, one thing after another. And this is what I'm saying about how are these people with microphones claiming to be radicals? How, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is why I think it's a joke that people think Hassan Piker is even slightly a radical. He's obviously not. He's literally just a celebrity entertainer at this point who talks about politics. He might as well be Piers Morgan, okay? I mean, he goes on his show, which is just a sign that you're fucking absolutely a joke. But, like, there's this obvious thing happening where, like, this is the guy we're promoting. You're basically engaging with Democrat politics. And I'm saying, what is the point of all of this? Are we all going to come together to bring somebody else forward? And again, I don't do politics. I have a right to ask a question as a voter, as a person who's looking at these people like, hey, aren't you supposed to be telling us what we're doing? You can't ask me. And I know people in my chat were like, well, Brittany, what's your solution? I do philosophy, but I'm also a public voter. I deserve to hold my political commentators accountable for the way that they claim they're guiding people for a better America. Is this the better America? You guys act like voters can't ask questions. And I'm asking a question. Is this the best we have? Because if that's the case, once again, okay, so don't come in my chat and say like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm not in politics. I'm not a political commentator. I'm not a politician. I'm not a public servant, but I am a voter and I deserve answers.
As reflected again by reporting polling. She says, same person, that you referred to the tattoo as my Totenkampf, which is the German word for this particular Nazi symbol. There was other reporting in Jewish Insider in October in which an anonymous acquaintance says you used that same phrase. Did you know what this tattoo was about before last October when you said you first became aware of it?
No, I did not. And I also think it's important to note that it's very likely, and I think that she is that same source. She's the person who's been telling people this from the beginning. And so I feel like, we're kind of rehashing the thing we've been through.
If Graham Platner cared about the American people, he would have left this race the minute the first scandal hit. And he would have given it to somebody more worthy. But these white men can't help but seek power because that's all they're here for. They are power-seeking men. He's been a power-seeking man his whole career. Everything about his career is power-seeking. So I don't know why we're sitting here and pretending like, I'm not shocked. Are you shocked? I mean, we're not shocked, right? But I'm sitting here surprised that political people are shocked that we are not excited and not interested in Graham Platner. And I'm saying if men are sitting here asking us for power, we have the right to be picky about who gets it.
A tattoo for 17 years. It's a skull and crossbones. I got it with other Marines, who I served with in Iraq, in Croatia. And in the time that I had...
Don't bring up Croatia. Don't to my face bring up Croatia, okay? You're not even allowed to say her name. Don't even talk about her to me, okay?
I got a security clearance with the State Department. I re-enlisted in the United States Army, where I was screened for gang and hate tattoos. And I took my shirt off in front of my family, many of whom are Jewish. We even released as a campaign a video, which you're putting up on the screen right now, of me dancing.
Okay, none of this is the point. None of this is the point. Just because none of us know that it's a white supremacist symbol doesn't mean it's not a white supremacist signal or symbol. Just because somebody doesn't know it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is he saying this? Like, okay, so nobody knew it was except the people who knew it was? What's your point? That all of us are uneducated and don't know any better? Great. It still is one. Right? Like, what are you talking about? Okay? And the way he's making it sound like, oh, nobody questioned it. Okay, well, that doesn't justify it. He doesn't sound remorseful. He doesn't seem to understand like the gravity of the offensiveness. Wait, let me see if I can bring up this video really fast. Ooh, no. Okay, let me see if I can bring up this video really fast. Oh, where is it? Hold on, pause. Don't leave me. Don't stay with me while I look up this video. Oh, come on. Where is it? I have so many videos saved to show you guys all the time. It's actually fucking crazy. There's this woman who got this really offensive, like, Japanese tattoo. And then she covered it up. And I was like, it's that easy. It's that easy. She just said, hey, I heard this was like a really offensive tattoo. I'm so sorry. Here, I got it, covered it up. And I was like, damn, it's so easy for people. And it's the way she even acknowledged it too. Like, it was real. Like, it wasn't like, annoying or came up with this whole story. She just said, damn, like, sorry, I didn't know. Okay, here.
It has been brought to my attention that my tattoo is problematic. I was already going to get it covered, so instead of getting it, I was going to get it touched up. So instead of getting it touched up, I'm just going to get it covered. The artist was kind enough to do a house call, so I'm at home waiting for her to get here. She should be here any minute now.
Chet's like, he did get his tattoo covered up. He got his tattoo covered up after it became an issue for his campaign. But he's still talking about it in present time. Is like, I didn't know. I'm just a guy. Tee-hee. And I'm saying, stop tee-heeing me to my face. Regular people take more responsibility. They show more remorseful, bit like embarrassment than this man going, I was just ignorant. Tee-hee. Sir?
Yeah.
Did he also know cheating was bad when he was cheating on his wife? I didn't know, guys. I just didn't know. Let's go. Nice cover up. Beautiful. Well done. Good job. Thank you, ma'am. Showing us how it's done. Appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. I'm saying this man covering it up after he was caught is not the same thing.
At my brother's wedding to his wife, who is Jewish, and her fully extended Jewish family. And I would not have taken my shirt off in that context if I had known. And so any statement saying that I did know is again, totally false.
I do want to follow up one place on this, and I don't want to get too forensic, but the Times basically reported that they saw texts of hers, including a text in August, I believe August 3rd of last year. This would be before October of last year, in which she basically said that you had a quote Nazi tattoo, and she joked about how she's going to go volunteer for Collins. Now, again, this is a text that got sent, so like we can place the time, right? This is in August. How does she know it's a Nazi tattoo in August of last year, and you don't know it's a Nazi tattoo in August of last year?
Well, she certainly didn't send that text to me. So whoever she sent it to and was talking to, I can't say why, but I will say that I certainly didn't know. And the text messages she's sending to friends who may have recognized it, they didn't tell me that. So.
Can we talk? I want to talk about the piece that came out before this, which was about what your wife had alerted your internal campaign folks to, and just to sort of stipulate to get out ahead that, like, I think some people view this as a real betrayal by your former campaign manager, and that may be true, and I understand. And I also watched the video that your wife put out, which I found incredibly compelling and moving, about what you worked through. But just to be clear again on the details here, and there's obviously two subtexts here, right? This is you facing mean voters at a primary and also a general election that's going to happen. We all know that, right? We're all on the same page. Were you sending sexually explicit messages to other women back in 2023, 2024?
Oh my God, I didn't even know it was that early. Wait. When they said it started at the beginning of their marriage, I don't know why in my head I thought it was like kind of before that. So wait, was it actually literally just a couple years ago?
As reported in the piece.
So
yes
this
or
is
no?
the first time in my life that Amy and I's marriage has been the interest of people besides Amy and I. It's definitely a bit jarring.
Yes or no, sir?
Yeah.
It's also a marriage that is very strong and that I do believe we deserve some privacy in. I will just say this. At the beginning of our marriage... at the beginning of our marriage. Okay, was that like a year ago? I felt for the marketing of at the beginning of our marriage, because that makes it sound like a long time ago. Mistakes, and Amy held me accountable for them.
Oh, he made a mistake, guys.
And we worked through them. And the work that we did made our marriage significantly stronger. And who we are today is an incredibly faithful and happy married couple. Amy is my best friend. I love her more than anything else.
Well,
and quite honestly,
not more than cheating 6 times.
The hardest part about this whole campaign is I don't get to spend as much time with her as I like to. And so it has been it's been a hard experience to have gone through this together as a couple long before.
Oh my God, just answer the fucking question. Did you or did you not? Yes or fucking no? Oh my God, bro, you've been talking for 30 minutes.
Our lives were brought out into the public. And then to have it essentially outed by someone that we put our trust in, who then turned around and betrayed Amy's trust.
I hate this. I hate this shit when abusers go, can I confide in you my abuse? And then you're supposed to keep it a secret. Like, fuck. Why should I keep it a secret, bro? Why are you telling me this shit? Why the fuck do people do this? Why do they fucking abuse people and are toxic and they're like, hey, can you keep my fucking shitty secret? Damn. And now we're complicit in keeping your fucking stupid secret because you, quote, worked on it in your marriage? I'm so sick of it.
And has now turned, frankly, our private parts of our marriage into a bit of a public political spectacle. It's hard, but it's our marriage. and it's a good marriage, and we're very happy in it and very happy with each other. And I thank my lucky stars every single day that Amy is my wife, and
Bro, push him, bro.
that she has given me a lot of grace and a lot of love over the years, and I'm a lucky man for it.
I'm here from you. You don't want to get into specifics and details, and I can respect part of that, but I do want to just make sure on the timeline, right? Because I think there's two things going through people's heads a little bit here, which is, you know, you have talked about self-medicating with alcohol and being pretty messed up when you got back from the service and trying to figure out what you're doing and doing things maybe you wouldn't stand by now and saying things you wouldn't stand by. But this is 2023, and so there's a difference in the time. And I think the first question is, like, when did this stop? If it stopped, if there was stuff that you're not proud of that you worked out with your wife and you don't want to talk about the details, when did it stop?
Oh, it stopped when it was happening. I mean,
He's playing right in our faces, right in our faces.
Amy and I, it happened soon after we got married, and we dealt with it very, very early in our relationship. And so that's when it stopped.
Are there texts of yours, pictures of yours floating around out there, which, again, maybe from a time capsule, but people, I think, are understandably a little nervous. Maybe you'll be the nominee, probably be the nominee for the Maine Senate on Tuesday. And then it's October 10th, and here's a text or picture of Graham Platner that is not the kind of thing that you want to see. Like, are you worried about that? Are there texts like that?
I'm not worried about it. I mean, I went, as I've talked to him, I went through my life.
So it says his spouse they got married in 2023. So it happened 3 years ago. He cheated 3 years ago at the beginning of their marriage, which happened in 2023. Okay, I Googled it. They got married in 2023. This is fresh. This is new. This is a man who recently had an affair with his wife with multiple people. Okay? That's what we're looking at here. And this man, fresh out the womb, wants to come and be like, let me be a leader. He is seeking power after when he was in a position of power, used it and abused it in his own marriage. Okay? So there you go. Bro.
Through a number of years, struggling and not exactly acting with the best behavior. I've been very, very open about that. And
this is exactly the kind of man you want your daughters to marry, isn't it, huh, girls? Absolutely fucking not. I wouldn't want my brother to date this kind of man, my sister to date this kind of man. Absolutely fucking not. Disgusting.
people would like to continue to drag things up from that time in my life. I'm sure that we are going to see at some point somebody attempt to do exactly that. Just know that these are things that happened before I became a public figure, before I got into politics, and it's a part of my life that I'm very happy to talk about and talk about the struggles within. And so I do think that as we move forward.
And by the way, we have to hold him to a different standard as a public figure, as a public servant. This is not your personal story. This is not your personal life. This is a man seeking power from us. Okay? We do not need more men in power who are like this. This isn't your brother or your father. This is a man who wants power. Okay? This is why we're more critical of politicians, and we should be. They are in power, right?
You know, what we've built up here is really something quite spectacular. It's very new. And I think one of the reasons why it's worked so well is because I have been very open with the people of Maine. I go all over the state. I've held over 80 town.
I'm very open with the people of Maine, but I won't give exact details about the one question they want to know about, which means I'm hiding information. It's not that fucking hard. You are now a public figure. Tell us the YouTubers share more information. YouTubers are literally more transparent. Let's go. You're a public servant. Tell us the details. How many times do we have to sit here and watch this happen time and time again?
And I ask or I answer questions from Mainers regardless of what the question is.
Then answer the question. Then answer the fucking question. When did it start? When did it end? Tell us the details. Who knows? Maybe voters who have had the same problems in their own marriage might actually be empathetic with you, but you're hiding it. You're being a snake. Tell us the details.
I've made myself very accessible to people, and I want them to know about my struggles because I firmly believe that if you believe in a transformational politics, you got to believe in the ability for people to transform. And my journey is one of transformation, and I'm very happy to talk about that earlier part in my life, and I have no doubt that people will attempt to continue to revisit Reddit posts, continue to try to revisit parts of my past. But I think what's really important to note here is that these are things that I talk about in my past, things that I'm not proud of, but it is a past that I had to go through to get where I am today, and I'm very proud of who I am today. I'm very proud of the movement that we've built up here in Maine.
just to be clear, just about revisiting, right? I mean, I think
Get him.
channeling concerns, I think, of Democratic voters and Democratic officials and a lot of people, right? That it's not a question of revisiting, right? It's new revelations, like vis-a-vis, texts or pictures. And I know you want to give some privacy in marriage, but I really do feel like I need to get these answers from you, which is like the people you were texting with, whatever that was, in whatever context, they were adult women. You knew that, and it was consensual. Is that true?
Yes.
Well, was it consensual? Did they know you were married? Did your wife know? It wasn't consensual for your wife. It might have been consensual for those women. Did they know you were married? Did they know who you were?
And you have that you confirmed that. You knew their age.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, God. I mean, yeah. Yes, of course.
What? What a weird ending to that clip. You knew their age? You never know on these online websites. You never know how old people are. Okay. Chad said, honestly, I thought he was a Republican. Well, he's definitely got the vibe. So, okay, when we have these conversations, when these men are seeking power, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, like, why are you guys getting mad at us for being critical of these men? Because you're like, oh my God, what about Collins though? What about Collins? Chad said, ideal situation. How would you like to see the situation and election evolve from here? Why are you asking me this question? Right? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, are you asking me as a neighbor, as a friend, are you asking me as a person? What position of power or not power are you asking me this from? Right? Like, what angle do you want me to answer this from? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do we remember that I don't make political content? So it almost sounds like a political question. Like, do you mean as a voter? I don't live in Maine. Do you mean as a voter in general? I'd like to see the world uplift good people. I'd like to see the world take accountability for its actions. I'd like to see all of us do the work because all of us are complicit in the way that the world is. I would like us to pick people who aren't freshly connected or freshly associated or freshly, you know what I'm saying? Like, I, as a voter, would love to see us pick somebody in this big ass country who isn't the worst person who's ever existed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I, as a voter, would love to see us uplift good people, which I do think exists. I do think good people exist. Do I think they're in politics? No. I think good people die when they go to politics. I think politics is where evil lives because it's all about power. And you can't have peace and power, you know? Right? You said I just meant it how I asked it. Okay, this is a philosophy channel, right? You said ideal situation doesn't exist. It's a myth. How would you like to see the situation and election evolve from here? Philosophy forces you to ask questions. And it forces you to ask, why did I even ask this question? And why am I specifically tagging Brittany? And what does Brittany have to give me in this situation, right? So when I ask you, why are you asking me this? I'm not asking because, when you say, oh, I just meant it how I asked it, you could have meant it as Brittany knows more about politics than I do. You could have meant, oh, I think Brittany's a political content creator. I should ask her. You could have meant, oh, Brittany's older than me. She knows better. You could have meant, oh, Brittany's the one with the microphone. So you could have meant 1,000 things. So when I ask you, what did you mean by it? I'm being very serious. What do you mean when you ask me this question? Because and this is why I ended up getting diagnosed autistic, because every test I took, 9 of them, every time I was asked a question, I was like, what do you mean by that? Because I know life is multi-layered. You could be asking me 1,000 different questions, right? And that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to say, like, hey, I know people are nuanced, and you could meet, like, when people say, like, what is a woman? What do you mean by that? I don't mean to play Jordan Peterson, obviously. What do you mean by that? What is a woman? I'm just saying sometimes it feels like I'm telling you what I would like to ideally see from this. I feel like I've been screaming it all week what I'd ideally like to see from this. Yeah, Chad said it could have meant I'm trying to catch Brittany in a gotcha because I think there's no better option than Platner, which is half the comments I've been getting this week. Oh, well, Brittany thinks she's so smart. What does she think should happen? Why are you asking me? Why are you asking me? That's what I'm saying. I'm allowed to have an opinion without also having the solution, as my job is not political. Again, if you guys understand that politics is a real job, people go to school for it. They literally go to school. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go to school for poli-sci. I didn't get a political science degree. I decided to leave politics at a very young age because the grifting was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And that's why this conversation is the way that it is. So I've been, my ideal world is one that sits and introspects and waits a second. My ideal outcome of this is that we seriously sit down and rethink everything we're doing. Because what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? The ideal scenario is everybody pauses and takes a deep breath. The ideal scenario is that everyone realizes like, oh, we're all the problem, aren't we? You know what I mean? So that's what I think would be the most ideal. And then people will say, oh, Brittany, that's philosophy, right? That's not even applied. Like that doesn't even apply. That's not even material, which I got a lot of comments in my chat about this week. Like, oh, you know what I mean? And that's okay, chat. You don't have to. You said, I don't think there's a good way to summarize my points. That's okay. You don't have to. I'm just trying to say from my perspective, you must understand I'm getting hundreds of comments every day. Hundreds of comments every day from people that are asking me similar questions in very bad faith ways, right? So there's just like this problem, okay? Like this, well, look, philosophy in a vacuum, pathetic, Oh, philosophy's never going to matter. Like, oh, Brittany's engaging in some sort of faux philosophy. Like, they don't even know what philosophy is. And I'm saying, when we have these conversations, right? Like, look at this, right? Look at this. Whoops, hold on, it disappeared again. Hold on, let me go. It says, honest questions. Is Susan Collins and Platner, so what should people do in Maine then, Britt? Why are you asking me? Why are you asking me what people in Maine should do? Collins has been cheating scandals and is a Zionist, votes for war, whatever Trump wants. Not even 15 years ago. It's really funny that you could only care about Chris saying the B word. Who's Chris? Chris who? Who's Chris? Saying the B word and not him believing all the Ethan Klein Destiny right wing. What is this? What does this whole sentence even mean? Dude is clearly just a lib masquerading as a leftist. Still heard about Kamala. What is even any of this about? Who's Chris with a C? Chris Kunstler? Who's Chris with a C? Do you know what I'm saying? I get comments like this and I'm like, they go, honest question. Genuinely mean this. See how I say I can't even trust you to be genuine? When people say like, oh, this is a serious question. Like, oh, genuine question, Brittany. Honest question, Brittany. And then say shit that I'm like, what are you talking about? Chris who with a C? Maybe they meant Kyle? Yeah, like maybe they meant Kyle Kalinske. But I'm like, who's Chris with a C? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, who is this? And then why are you asking me what voters in Maine should do, girl? I don't know. Just said, Brittany, I think sometimes your position brings hope because of your grounded views and knowledge and philosophy. I find it helpful as a whole outside of Maine. Does that make sense? Yeah, I hope so. You know what I mean? I hope so. Oh, Chris is the gentleman I think the Chris they're referring to is the clip you watched of Chris who yelled at Hassan. Hassan walked away. Oh, the Chris guy. Oh. And not him believing in all the Ethan Klein Destiny right-wing delusion. I still don't understand what this means. That's what I mean. I don't even, these people literally Google their favorites and see my video come up, and then they click on the video. Do you know what I'm saying? They don't even catch themselves and wonder, how'd you find my video? One of the girlies in my chat were like, wait, I don't know 95% of these usernames. Who are these people? These are people who don't even care who I am. They just care that I have one of their favorites in the thumbnail or one of their favorites in the title. And instead of saying, ooh, what can I learn from this person? They just get upset and they don't understand. And then they go here. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, look, with peace and love, I understand that in YouTube land, like 90% of our views come from people who don't watch us regularly. But you are telling on yourselves with the way you come at people. Because the way I would never leave comments like this on someone's channel. I never do this to people because it doesn't make sense. You're visiting their bubble with their words and their community. Like, you should sit and learn and wonder what's going on here. You know what I mean? Okay. Chet said, I think you have valuable perspectives and I hope your answers help me evolve and address harm I see done by others in my life. How to hold military people accountable in my life? Oof, that's a tough one. I have military people in my life too. It helps that they all hated their time in the service and they talk badly about it anytime someone asks. But I think it takes time, right? I think it takes time. You have to see where people are at and you got to see when they're ready to own stuff. I think open with boundaries is key. I think also making it known. I kind of do this thing where my sister and I and my brother were especially the most left in the family. And anytime we're with the family and they'll say something they know we don't like, they look at us and I'm like, you know what you just did. So that is a lot. You know what I mean? That's a lot. Just to make it clear, like, so you can't hold people accountable. They have to hold themselves accountable, but you need to be open with boundaries. Boundaries are not ultimatums. We're not going to tell people what to do. We're going to do what we need to do regardless of what they do. And we're going to see how they move and we're going to act accordingly. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you. You should know. Okay, if you want to come to me for advice about what to do, I'll give you advice. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're a grown up. But based off what you do, it's not an ultimatum. It's just I have to keep myself safe, right? Chat said I would like more context on why I discuss political figures, but no political convo, if that makes sense. I am an American voter. I vote in the USA. Yeah? I have the right to discuss politics with friends, family, and community. I have the right to go to my Discord and say, hey, who are we voting for in Arizona? What's the thing? What are we doing? Because I'm a voter in Arizona. I'm allowed to say to my community, as all Americans are, we want to encourage more people to vote, but you don't understand, like, we need to have political conversations. We are not political leaders, though. That's why we look to our political leaders for guidance, our political podcasters for guidance. And when they are not guiding us in a clear path, we have the right to say, change direction. And I'm saying I cannot guide you politically because I already tried to do politics. It literally burns me out and I want to die because it is the worst community I've ever seen in my life, political people. They are immoral, unethical, ruthless. They sit there and act like your baby's life isn't on the line every day. And they create policy to kill your children no matter what letter they have in front of their name. So I don't want to do it. I think it's unethical, right? I think it's wrong. So I can't do it. But if you're going to play this game and you say you're the right one, then do it. Prove to us you haven't sold out. Like, prove to us that you're a good person. You're going to guide us in a good direction. Otherwise, you're the same as everybody else before them. And I'm saying maybe it's time for us as a community to recognize how fucked politics really is. Because if the guys who are supposed to be the best ones still can't fucking figure it out, then maybe it's not meant to be figured out. Sometimes I see political institutions like a cake you're trying to rebake in hopes that it will come out good. It's already been in the oven 4 times. Throw it away, girl. Start again. Start again. That's why we talk about dismantling the system. Because the one we have in place is like a fucking cake we keep trying to rebake. And I'm saying throw out the cake. And that's why it's annoying to see Hassan Piker and all these people go, oh yeah, dismantle the system, dismantle the system. Also vote for the system. Vote for the system. We have to vote for the system. So which one is it? Are we throwing out the cake or are we rebaking the cake? Which one is it? Okay? If you really want to be the leader in political spaces, then be the leader and guide us. And I'll follow. I'll be your best friend. I will be your loudest advocate. But you cannot ask me to be Hassan Piker or any of these people's loudest advocate when they're out here condoning cheating, abuse, toxicity, bullshit, misogyny. No, thank you. Okay? No, thank you. But if you can get me a good person, I will be their biggest advocate. I'm a great cheerleader. I will be your greatest, biggest fan. Okay? You said accurate or inaccurate. If you feel like people aren't taking the red flags seriously enough, I don't think anybody takes anything seriously enough. Myself included. I don't think any person on this planet takes anything seriously enough. And that should hurt you. People are probably going to be offended. But I think it's true. I don't think I take it seriously enough. I don't think you take it seriously enough. I don't think anyone does. I think in some ways it's probably like suicidal to take it too seriously. Because God, if you do, it's going to eat you alive. How fucked up everything is. So take a deep breath and clean one room at a time. Focus on one part of your community at a time. But it will drive you crazy realizing how fucked up the world is. So don't become nihilistic. Don't become apathetic. Take a deep breath and try to be less bad every day. You know? Okay? Okay? I think again, like, I see you, chatter. Like, you keep asking me political questions, right? You're doing it right now. Have you seen FD video on Platner? What about this politician? You're doing it right now, right? Yes, I have seen the video. We watched it on stream, okay? The point is that if you're talking about the latest one about leaving white leftists behind, I'm saying ask me a philosophical question, but you're asking me a political one, right? These are political questions. And I'm saying you should ask me, what do you think the ethics are in engaging and promoting a politician who, when engaging in when they are in positions of power, abuse that power? And then I can talk about the ethics. But if you're asking me which politician should we support, I don't know. I'm not the girl who's supposed to be leading us to picking a politician. That's somebody's full-time job. Someone's full-time job is researching everything about a politician to tell us what to do, because some of us, we can't do it. You can't have 350 million Americans all doing the research. Nothing will get done. Some of us are in school. Some of us have kids. We need somebody else to do it. That's what a village is. A village is all of us doing our part and giving each other the knowledge. So we don't all have to do everything. You want me to be a full-time athlete and a full-time mother and a full-time scholar and a full-time politician, right? We need to all be that's why I'm saying we need people who are doing the work so all of us can meet each other where we are. That's what I'm saying. Does that help? Does that make sense? Right? Okay. Let me see the chat. It says views on anarchism. Again, I struggle with what that means in the world in which I see mostly men talking about these things. I am for whatever leads us to be kinder, less violent, and more focused on community. Whatever that label is, I'm that. And right now, I see a lot of labels that men co-opt and use violence to accomplish goals, right? So whatever label is going to get us focused on the community, focused on the earth, focused on children, I'm that. Okay, give me the label, I'll own it. But like, the problem is a lot of these labels are co-opted by men who say they care about the community while they're cheating, raping, pillaging, killing. You know what I'm saying? So that's the problem. I want systems that help the people. I want systems that are less bigoted. I want systems that don't require misogyny to excel. I want systems that don't require patriarchy to excel. I want systems that don't require white supremacy to excel. Right? So whatever label that is, okay? Let me see. Chet said, we are discussing the ethics of the people running, which is inherently unethical. That doesn't mean you can't vote for them. Just ask yourself why and why there aren't better options. And it's layered, right? It's layered, right? Okay, so I appreciate the questions. I appreciate the curiosity. But again, I want people to understand. I want people to stay in their lanes. And I want people to respect, like in a good way, and really study the thing they know and then share it with other people. Instead of all of us having to do everything because we can't. You know, it's too exhausting, you know? Okay, let's see. Did I miss any questions? Britt, how do we heal the souls of so many hurt grown children? Well, this is the hard part. How do we heal the souls of so many hurt grown children? If you meet adults that used to be children, to be honest, we can't. Just even biologically speaking, children benefit from the intervention of adults. Adults don't. Adults need to be the person who wants the change first. So a child who's seeking help, it's because they don't know. That's why adults come in and we help. Adults who are already grown, they have to want to change. They have to want to be better. It has to start with them. And then it has to be a society that wants them to get better, right? Look, I got this question. Hold on. I got this question on my Nick Fuentes video yesterday. I was like, oh man, my mom brain feels bad for these boys. And this person said, the mom in me feels bad, classic white woman, fake empathy. This is why no one takes y'all seriously when talking about patriarchy. And I said, PSA, you can feel empathy for the children and hold the adults they become accountable. Punishment is a tool of patriarchy. We're all still deconstructing our punishment brainwashing that we've been given from white supremacy and patriarchy. White supremacy thinks you deserve to be punished. White supremacy thinks your children deserve to be punished. That's why they hit black children with the hardest law, the most extreme part of the law, right? My empathy for people who used to be children is for those children. The same thing that makes you want to punish all of these grown men is the same tool of white supremacy that I think these conservatives use against your children, which is why they try them as adults, right? And I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, I hear you and I hear the pain in this sentence. And I also say that that pain is being weaponized by these systems and structures of power to convince you to vote for things. I remember my parents in California, they were really convinced to vote for the 3-strike law. So you get 3 felonies, you're in prison for life, right? My cousin got hit with that. He's in prison for life. And my parents regretted it. They said, I thought it was going to be like super bad people, really bad crimes, And I sat there and I was like, well, that's the point, right? They always tell you we're only going to get the criminals. We're only going to pick up the worst people. We're only going to kill the really bad people. They're not. You know what I mean? They're not. And so that's the problem. Okay. And so they're going to pick up your children, And when I think about that, and that's the point of why I don't believe in prisons, and I think there should be reform, and I think people should be held accountable. I'm not saying these men should be out in the streets. I'm saying these men should be, they should be in probably facilities or in proper care, or there should be, but the problem is like, we're too violent. You know what I mean? Like we're so violent, bro. And we have to have a deeper relationship with our biological experience so we don't have to be as violent in all of our solutions. See how every solution is a violent solution? And I'm saying, can we have solutions that aren't violent? And you know what I get told? Oh, you're naive. Oh, you're ignorant. Oh, you're silly. This is like women always think like you can't do, we have to be violent. But haven't we always used that? It has not always been the tool. The tool of violence is used by white supremacy and it has the power. And so I'm not saying don't be violent when somebody is coming at you. I'm not saying don't defend yourself, all right? I mean, we eat animals. We're inherently engaging in violence just to eat every day. Well, some of you are. So my point is that I'm not stupid. But I'm also not the smartest person on the planet either. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to be less violent. And I'm just trying to be less bad every day. I mean, even me suggesting that to people, they hate it. They hate this idea. They're like, what do you mean be less bad every day? Isn't it we're supposed to be better every day? I'd prefer you to be less bad every day. Because it starts with a premise that you are bad enough to be less bad. But that bad that you are is because you're an animal on the planet. But see, some of you believe in God. So you think your bad is from sin. And I don't believe in sin. You're not a sinner. You're just an animal on a planet. You're having a biological experience. So there's layers to this that I think people are missing. Guys, the fact that we don't even talk about atheism in this whole conversation is playing a huge role. Notice that all week when we've been talking about patriarchy, we haven't even been talking about the intersection of religion and atheism. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we haven't even begun to talk about all the different groups and all the different people. And this plays a huge role. Billions of people on the planet think there's a God. They think they're going to hell. Billions of people on this planet are literally taking away your basic human rights because of religion. What do you, like, half of the arguments, like half of the problems we're having are over God. So when we sit here and say, oh, here's a politician, he's a great guy, we have to support him because the consequence is this. You mean the consequence is the status quo? Why are you pretending like Trump isn't the status quo? How do you think he won so many times? So you're telling me you can have Trump or Trump light. Which one do you want? I don't know. I'm still hearing Trump. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying all you're promising us is the same. It's the same. And I know people don't want to hear that. You know, a bunch of people weaponized that against Hassan Piker. They said, oh, Hassan Piker is saying it would have been the same regardless of who got elected, except Kamala Harris wouldn't have subpoenaed Hassan. That's not what we mean when we would say the same. We're talking about micro versus macro. We're saying in the long term, it would have been the same because it's always been the same. In the short term, sure, Hassan wouldn't have gotten subpoenaed, which he shouldn't have been, right? But in the long term, it would have been the same because it is literally just a part of the system as it is. So all of this to say, this is not a political channel. This is a philosophical channel that questions our ethics, our personal ethics and morals. And it asks us and begs us to ask the question, right? How do our personal ethics and morals play into how the world turns out? Because right now, with your full chest, you'll blame MAGA voters, but you're not going to blame yourself, right? And then you'll say, oh, it's not me, it's the system. So can't MAGA voters just say it's not them, it's the system? So it's none of us are responsible for Trump getting elected, but all of us are it's everything, and it's both things. Trump voters are victims of the system too. And they're more responsible for not doing the research when it was so blatantly obvious he was lying to them. So who are we to fall for Platner or any of these other men? Who are we to have this man lie straight to our fucking faces and then say, oh, I didn't know? Do we not know? Do you really not know looking at Graham Platner? Is it not obvious? Or are you just another fucking Trump voter who goes, I just didn't, I thought it was a joke. The joke is us. We're the joke, is my point. And it's always going to be this way forever until we recognize that we are animals on a planet and we're destroying the planet and we're destroying ourselves in the process. And we have the audacity to go to bed and feel good about it. Don't beat yourself up as an individual, but also know you were complicit in the system. I don't want you to self-harm and be suicidal. I want you to be adult enough in the room to say, okay, today I'm going to take it seriously. And then take some time off from being too serious and enjoy some anime. And then come back and be a little bit more serious because kids are watching you. And then take time off and enjoy your loved ones in a humorous, loving way. And then come back and do the right thing because people need your help. It's about balance. Okay? It is about balance.